Hi, this is Mannat Jagya, and in this class we are going to study a new theory, which is New Historicism. In yesterday's class, I gave you a quick overview of the queer theory, and in today's class, I'll be talking about New Historicism. So, who are the New Historists and what do they do? New Historists are the critics who go back to the context and analysis of literature. They not only examine the literary text, but they also examine films, articles, advertisements based on a particular text. So when in new criticism, formalism, structuralism, post-structuralism, those people, those writers, those critics consider text as a very important body. Like the new critics said that everything that you need is inside a text. Why look at the author's background? But new historists say that context is important. Text is important, but apart from the text, there are various other things that are needed to be analyzed along with the text. So they also took a great interest in examining the literary text, but apart from that, they also examined films, articles, and advertisements. Now take the example of Shakespeare. If you consider Shakespeare's Richard II, and if you analyze it, you will understand that Shakespeare was obsessed with costumes. So where does this interpretation come from? The interest in costumes of Shakespeare himself is a background of the author's interest. So this is how new historists analyze the text. From Richard II, they are bringing the analysis of Shakespeare's own personal interest. That Shakespeare, if you look at Shakespeare's Richard II, you can conclude that the author is obsessed with costumes. So they say, new historists say, that time, place, and historical circumstances are very important. Now, new historists are greatly inspired by Michael Foucault. Michael Foucault's work, Knowledge of Power, in which he gave the concept of episteme, E-P-I-S-T-E-M-E. And what does this term episteme means? E-P-I-S-T-E-M-E. Episteme means an idea currently fashionable, but which can go out of fashion soon. So Michael Foucault, in his Knowledge of Power, shares an important term episteme, and he says that an idea could be currently fashioned, but later on it can go out of fashion. So new historists are going to study all those fashions that were prevalent in the author's time and which are not so prevalent and fashionable in the modern times. So they are also going to compare the trends that were there and that are not here. So new historists are the critics who say that history is a matter of representation and you cannot ignore history because there is a literariness in history. And all art forms somewhere relate to culture. All art forms are cultural materials. What are cultural materials? Cultural materials, you can understand the production, the reception. Reception is how you understand, and the circulation. And these cultural materials are controlled by market forces and ideologies. Suppose today, if there is a trend in the market to use a particular gadget, so this particular fashion will be controlled by the market forces. Everywhere there will be an advertisement, and your ideology is also important. What interests you? Do you want to buy that particular gadget because it is fashionable, it is expensive and fashionable, or do you consider that gadget as useful? So your new historists say that all the art forms, even literature, is a product that is to be sold, and it depends on how literature is received and how it is circulated. So literature is compared to all art forms that are cultural materials. So production, reception, circulation will follow in literature also. So what is the harm in studying the process? What is the harm in going back to the production part and understanding how people are receiving it, reception. And what is the harm in studying how it is being circulated? What is the response that a particular work receives? So the physical part of culture in books could be recording and printing it, right? Then talking about the major historist, one of the major historists is Stephen Greenblatt. In his book Resonance and Wonder, he writes about Tempest. Tempest is the play by Shakespeare, and this is how he's commenting that new historist try to understand what makes history. And if you consider the work Tempest, it is Stephen Greenblatt who is the Shakespearean scholar. In his book Resonance and Wonder, he states that the work Tempest by Shakespeare has the turmoils that were seen in Shakespeare's personal life. The turmoils, the troubles of Shakespeare's personal life can be seen in his play Tempest. This is what is analyzed by Stephen Greenblatt in his book Resonance and Wonder. And even Learning to Curse is another book by Stephen Greenblatt. So he concludes this, that new historists are the people who try to understand what makes history. There are various writings written on Shakespeare, and from those writings you can understand that people through Shakespeare's work analyzed how Shakespeare was. There is a writer, Stephen Orgel, and he has written this brilliant work, Authentic Shakespeare, in which he concludes that Queen Elizabeth did not like Richard II. So not only there's a comment on Shakespeare's likes and dislikes, but people through their researches have also assumed what the kings and queens liked and disliked at those particular times. So you can safely assume that new historists were the people who were interested in every aspect of history that was a part of the text. They did not only study the text, but they also studied the historical background in which the text was written. Not only the historical background of the text, but they also studied the films that were adapted from those works. They also studied the articles that followed the works. They even studied all the works that were inspired from that particular work. So new historists' analyzation is very broad and wide. They don't leave any aspect, and they consider history as the most important representation of the author. Thank you.